What's up guys, this video is going to talk about enhancement, glyphs, macros and talents, so let's jump into it. First I'm going to go through the talents. The first talent is actually Natural Guardian. Increases your health by 25% when you're below 30%, so it's defensive. Stone Bulwark Totem, what that does is applies an absorb shield on you and your party members every 5 seconds. And then there's Astral Shift, reduces damage taken by 40%. Then there's Frozen Power. It changes your Frost Chuck so that it roots the target instead of just slowing him down. Earth Grab does the same thing, but it places Earth Bind and it roots all the targets. And then there's Windwalk Totem. It grants you immunity to movement impairing effects for 6 seconds, also you and your party members. And then there's Call of the Elements. What that does is it immediately finishes the cooldown on all the totems with base cooldown shorter than 3 minutes, so that cannot work on Fire Elemental Totem. Then there's Totemic Persistence. What that does is you're able to use 2 totems of the same type together, but that doesn't work with fire, so you can't use Searing Totem with Fire Elemental Totem. But you can use like Healing Tide Totem with Healing Stream. And then there's Totemic Projection. What that does is you're able to move your totems. It has a 10 seconds cooldown and you're able to move the totems whenever you want to. This is usually used to move around Capacitator Totem. And then there's Elemental Mastery. It empowers you by giving you 30% haste for 20 seconds. Then there's Ancestor Swiftness. It enables your next natural spell to be instantly casted. Until you use that spell, you get a melee haste of 10% and an increased spell haste by 5. Then there's Echo of the Elements. It has a chance to replicate a spell you already used. So if I'm healing, I might get another chance of getting the same heal again. Or if I'm using Elemental Blast, I might hit another Elemental Blast for free and of the global cooldown. And then there's Rushing Stream. It increases your healing on your healing stream by 15%, and it's able to heal 2 people at the same time. I think this is for resto mainly. There's Ancestor Guidance. Then 60% of the damage you do is converted. 40% of the damage you do, is converted into healing, and 60% of the healing is copied as a healing to 3 nearby party members. So if I'm healing myself, I get. My party members around me are going to get 6% of that heal. If I'm doing damage, I'm going to get 40% of that damage as healing. There's Conductivity. What this does is when you have Healing Rain down, it buffs your heals and your lightning bolt, chain bolt, elemental blast, and earth chuck. I think this is used for restoration. I think it's more PvE resto. But okay, I just said it. There's Unleash Fury, but it just improves your Unleash elements when you use it on the target. So for enhancement, there's Wind Fury, which for 8 seconds your melee auto attacks can trigger static shock. So that's improve of the elemental elements, and then Unleash elements. I'm sorry. And then there's also Flame Tongue Weapon. Increases the enemy's target's damage taken from your lightning bolt by 30% and from your lava burst by 10%. So we neither use both of them, so it's not really good. Then there's Primary Elementus. This grants you the control over your Fire Elemental Totem and your Earth Elemental Totem, and they get they're 80% more powerful, and they get spells that you are able to use. And then there's Elemental Blast. It's basically castable, has a 12 seconds cooldown. It is castable, and it gives you a chance to. It's not a chance. It always gives you either mastery, crit, or haste or agility buff for 8 seconds after you use it. It's a chance in which you're getting. We always hope for the agility. So these were the talents, and obviously I go with Nature's Guardian, because I really don't want to use any other, because this is really good. And then there's Windwalk Totem. I use this if you have a Holy Paladin or a healer that can actually keep dispelling you of the slows, even though some are undispellable. So I keep this unless I'm going to play with a Holy Paladin. So this is okay. If you're going to play, I would take Frozen Power because I really don't like Earth Crab. For enhancement, of course. And then I was trying out Call of the Elements because I wanted to see if I'm able to use Windwalk again, and yes, it works because it has cooldown less than 3 minutes. So it works. So I use this just to have 2 stacks of this and 2 Tremor. What else? And then Ancestor Swiftness. I use this because actually I use this only in double DPS because I want to, once I go down to face the enemies, I just want to instantly hex the target. So I used this for the hex, even though you can use your procs on that, but I like to keep the procs so I can burst down the target with. And then there's Ancestor Guidance. This actually is kind of the best you can get on enhancement because when you're bursting you get a lot of damage, and so you can convert that into healing too. And then I'm using Elemental Blast. This is mainly the basic spell I have to always have because I use my procs on that. So these were the talents. Now I'm going to go to the glyphs. Currently I'm using Glyph of Healing Storm. What that does is when you have procs of Maelstrom, your direct healing is increased by 20%. So if I have 5 stacks, that means the healing is increased by 100%. It's basically survivability. And then there's Shamanistic Rage. I use this so I'm able to dispel some powerful buffs like some powerful stuns or spells such as like Deep Freeze or let's say Fear. But sometimes you need to remove this or change it because when you face an Affliction or Shadow Priest, you keep getting a huge damage and silences. For Shadow Priest it's a horror. And then I'm using the Glyph of Lightning Shield. This actually reduces the damage taken by 10% whenever your Lightning Shield is triggered, and most of the time Lightning Shield is triggered, so you kinda constantly have a 10 seconds decreased damage. It's okay, you can change that with Hex, so the Hex only has 35 seconds cooldown, but it just differs. And you can also use Purge. Then you're able to just to use Purge once, so you'll just dispel two magic effects, but it will have 6 seconds cooldown. So these were the glyphs, and now I'm going to go through the macros. I hope you can see them. If not, I'm going to put them in the description below. First one is the Hex. What that does is I really like to use mouse over on my CCs or like a modifier, so I'm having both here. So if I use control and use the keybind for that spell, for that macro, I mean, it's going to bind elemental. This is I use this on the water elemental, the fire elemental if I'm facing another shaman. So just have it on the other side. And then I have like modifier shift. What this does is when I shift, it's going to hex my focus target. If not, it's going to, if I don't press either of both of them, it's going to hex my mouse over. And then there's actually the burst. That's basically all the spells I need to use on my cooldowns. And then I have a similar one to that of Hex, but for Solar Beam when I symbiosis with a Druid. So I keep this down, and then I have another Wind Shear Totem. It's a mouse over, so I don't have to really keep targeting other people, so I can silence them. Also, it's really important to have this macro down because Shaman actually can interrupt from 30 yards, so that's really good. So you need to able to make sure that you always interrupt people around you. And then this actually is a really nice macro. I like what this does. If I mouse over a friendly target, it's going to cast Clean Spirit. If not, if it's an enemy, it's going to purge him. So I kinda have both on one spell. And then there's Grounding Totem. What that does is it's basically stop casting and then Grounding Totem. It's not really used as much in enhancement, but sometimes you accidentally like want to pillar and then use healing surge, and then you find out like he's going to cast like chaos bolt, then you need to use this one. And the last one is actually healing surge. What that does is mouse over heal, that's all. So if I mouse over my friend, it's going to heal him. Yeah, it's okay, you can, it's not like necessary, but it's okay, it's fine. Maybe you want to heal, even though the heal for enhancement is quite low even with the glyph, but sometimes you might need to heal, help out your friends. So these were the macros, and I hope you enjoyed that video. I'm just trying to make it as short as possible because the rest of the videos are just too long. So thanks again.